The good doctor right here, Dr. Grossinger, and the Sixers, they didn't participate in the trade deadline.
Yeah, we
this
did.
year.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, well,
Tell us about it.
Well, Perry,
Here it
let's
is.
tell us
Here
your
we go.
raving
Breaking
review.
news. We're seeing that now. Ready? We've got breaking news. There's a blockbuster trade. Perry, tell us about it.
Oh yeah,
Tell
big
us about the
blockbuster.
trade.
So you know, people might look at it and not really understand, like, why did we trade for Joel Anthony? Well, what happened was, truthfully, I don't even know which team he was on. I didn't even look what team he was on. But the team that traded him to us needed to rid themselves of salary because they're over the luxury tax. So they'd have to pay that money anyway. Plus, they have to double it because they pay the luxury tax. We are below the salary floor, and if we don't get to the salary floor, we have to pay our current roster the difference between what our salary is and the salary floor. So you're paying that money either way.
So he's kind of a free. He's kind of a free guy almost.
We take him not to play him. We're gonna wait. We waived him already. We're waiving him tomorrow as soon as we're allowed to. But for our troubles, for absorbing that money on behalf of that team, they gave us a second round pick. And what it is it's Denver's second round pick next year, and Denver stinks. So maybe not that second round picks are that great, but maybe it's the 35th pick of the draft, and maybe you take that and you package it with Sacramento's 2018 first rounder, and you get a top 5 pick. Who knows? But it's just another asset that you get for free. We didn't have to do anything except we were donated a second round pick, so we'll take it.
Yeah, Perry, I know that it might be a 32nd round pick or 32nd pick, second round, but you can get gems in the second round. Draymond Green was picked at the top of the second round. He's an all-star right now.
Nailed it.
And he absolutely.
That's one guy.
And
That's a pure exception.
When you say with Joel
90%
Anthony,
of them stink.
when you say Joel Anthony, obviously it's for salary dump purposes, but in my honest opinion, I think they're the ultimate losers of the trade deadline. And this is for this exact reason. You have all these assets. Why not go after guys like Jeff Teague or guys like who have been Atlanta's been rumored to get rid of these guys. They have a ceiling. Why not bring in a guy Teague to really?
Let me ask you something.
To bring these guys, obviously Ish Smith is a good guy. He's going to be a bench guy.
No.
I don't think he's a starter.
You're right about that. Let me ask you something.
Sure.
I don't want to ruin your groove over there.
Go ahead. Do it.
You just told me about these rumors that Atlanta was trading all these guys. Did they trade one guy? Did they trade Teague or Horford or Korver or anybody on that team?
No, but
so
they
do
could
you
have.
not think other
But they
teams
could have.
tried to get these guys? You're telling me you don't
They
think the
should have.
Sixers made a phone call to see if they get Jeff Teague?
They should have.
Well,
they should have made a phone
I'm telling
call.
you, they did.
You know
Who
why?
knows what they,
You know why nobody
maybe Atlanta wanted Nerlens Noel and the first pick of the draft next year. Or are you going to say yes just so you get Jeff Teague?
You want to know why nobody wants to come to Philadelphia?
'Cause you're
the
here.
Sixers. No, because the Sixers do not have stability issues. Nobody wants to stay here long term. They always are in the trade rumors. Okafor, I don't know why he's in trade rumors. He's your franchise centerpiece. And obviously, I know you said MCW, he has a ceiling, but he was a Rookie of the Year honors, and you just trade him away.
He's killing it this year.
And you
for the 18th
trade away.
place Milwaukee Bucks.
You traded a Drew Holiday, an all-star, and
An all-star?
these examples.
An all-star.
An all-star. He was pretty good. And obviously now he has injury problems, but I just don't understand where this team's going. And
Let me ask you something.
I just don't get it.
I gotta
don't get it.
call you out on this. Okay.
Go ahead.
Drew Holiday is the point guard for the New Orleans Pelicans now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Has he made the All-Star game since he's been there?
No.
Do they not have 20 wins right now and are last place in the West above only, I believe, the Lakers and the Wolves?
I understand.
I'll answer it for you.
I
Yes,
get that. Okay.
But you're
Okay.
telling me that we should keep Drew Holiday. You know what we traded in return for Drew Holiday? We got Nerlens Noel and the rights to draft Dario Saric. So
Okay.
if you're going to tell me that keeping Drew here for the last few years to win a few more games because he's a little bit better than Ish Smith is the right thing, then you don't know how to build a basketball team. It's that simple.
Well, no,
I'm telling you, you don't know what you're talking about.
I don't understand what you're saying with the Noel, coinciding with Okafor. Noel is not fit for the 4 position. Noel is not even a double machine like Okafor is. You want to trade away Okafor. Noel is just a defensive guy. And
so is Ben Wallace. So is Dennis Rodman.
Sure, but you need guys to facilitate better. They don't have any guard play. You have all these assets. You're just going to hold on to these assets and not use them to your benefit. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Just because Spence, help me out here. I know that you're reasonable here. Just because they didn't use any assets at this trade deadline does not mean they're not going to use their assets come this summer, right? Maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah, I understand. I understand like what Perry is trying to say, and Shanko. You're frustrated because the Sixers are always every year they're tanking. It seems like the seasons are so long. So I get your frustration. You want to fix it, but your plan is pretty much to strive for the 7th and the 6th seed in the East and the lose. Like if you ask Chicago Bulls fans right now if they're happy, they're not. They make the playoffs every year. They're quote-unquote successful in the NBA. And guess what success equals if you're not LeBron
And the
Cleveland?
Hawks and the Grizzlies and all these teams,
Clippers.
the Jazz right now, like that's not who we want to be. We have the ability to get to that
That's
Cavs Warriors
purgatory.
level, and we're on that path. You don't ruin it now to go sell the farm for Jeff Teague.
Okay.
I mean, come on.
Well, I don't think that I don't think Shenko fell in love with Jeff Teague. Certainly, if there was a Mike Conley, if there was somebody like that out there who could be a veteran presence, and we could, trade. We've got a lot of assets coming next year.
Sure.
We just don't know what was discussed. So
Yeah, exactly.
we know nothing happened, but we don't really know
Well,
what
here's
was
my
discussed.
opinion.
That's what I'm saying. We may have offered something for Jeff Teague, and they just didn't accept it.
Yeah, I have two things. I think, obviously, ask me this one question is, has the tanking, system worked?
Yes.
Ever? With who? What team? Who
Well,
has tanked before?
Oklahoma
Just like the
City.
Sixers for so
Every
long.
The
single
Thunder.
team has done it, and they never talk about it publicly. Did the Thunder not get back-to-back top 5 picks, and they got Durant, Westbrook, and Harden?
Yeah,
Yes.
but they
Where they
still
don't-
traded him away, though.
Oh, my God,
Just
where-
like the Sixers would.
No, okay.
Because Harden obviously left in free agency.
No, he didn't. No, Harden got traded.
got traded,
because
yeah,
their
excuse me,
owner's
excuse
cheap,
me.
and if our owner did that, I would no longer be a Sixers fan. If I was a Thunder fan, I would have given.
I'm going
up
to
on
make
this
a
man
point.
for that.
Okay, there's a franchise called the LA Clippers. Okay, now they were poorly run for decades by Donald Sterling. He was a bad owner. Turns out to be a bad person. Even before he became demented. So they lost. They always lost. They always got good picks, first rounds. They always made terrible draft selections. It was just a basketball wasteland. And you look at OKC, kind of a new place, like nobody really paid attention to OKC. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. So whether they were really tanking or whether they were just bad and they were in a terrible location, and once they got Durant and Westbrook, it all of a sudden becomes a destination because of those guys.
Well, first of all,
Just the way Orlando, when Shaq was down there, was a destination. And since Shaq left, Orlando has been a barren wasteland.
Well, they made it to the finals, and OKC. That I think people take great offense to you calling it a wasteland. Oklahoma City.
Well, I hope those can be
all
fed in our
18
listening
people-
audience.
Well,
I don't think anybody in our
wait,
listening
I wanted
audience
to-
has ever set foot
But
there.
here's what Bruce is trying to say. The Sacramento Kings are a basketball wasteland. Forever,
Well,
and they're not going anywhere because they draft Ben McElmore, they draft bust after bust.
They traded us.
Who
a
did they
third-
draft? Cousins was the only good player. They've been horrible.
They traded
at
us a
drafting.
first-round pick and the rights to swap twice, just so that they could sign Rondo to still not make the playoffs. They're Shenko's dream team. Like that, if he could root for any team, like if he had no city affiliation, he'd root for the Kings because they try their best to be the 8th seed instead of actually trying to build a future.
Rudy
because
Gay also.
they never should have tied their salary cap up with Rudy Gay and with Rajon Rondo. They should have been the worst and built just with Cousins
Matt's
and
got to be able
no
to come
money.
back. He's itching to talk. He's not a Kings fan.
But Perry, you could draft Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio. You could be poor at drafting players.
Of course you can.
So aren't you worried about that?
Of course, well, you're always worried about that, but I think we drafted the right players. I think we've made every correct pick so far, and now we'll see what
So
happens.
you
this
drafted Embiid not playing. He could never play. Sarge, unknown. Come on. But I'm gonna go to Shenko too.
To answer your question about all these assets that the Sixers have, I mean, why not? And in this year's draft, trade up in the middle of the first round and be able to get some nice bench contributors, some guys like Demetrius Jackson, guard out of Notre Dame, averages about 16 points a game as a sophomore. I think he can really contribute just along with Nick Stauskas if he develops his three-point game as well.
Stauskas is
Grayson Allen, a guard out of Duke. I love him. I love him as a player.
He shouldn't come
He's
out.
a points machine. He's averaging 20 points
He's
a
not
game.
coming out.
And obviously, I'm going to make a bold statement here. If you can obviously find gems later in this draft. I mean, look at Kobe, who's drafted 13th overall from the Charlotte Bobcats.
People
And then-
were afraid
and
of high schoolers at that
Steve
time.
Nash, he was drafted, I think, in the middle of the first round. And obviously, like I said before, Draymond Green. You can find these gems later in the draft. You got to just do your job in the scouting department and be able to bring success to your team.
I thought it would have been interesting to trade Jahlil Okafor because It's so weird watching him. He's on the side. He gets benched some games. He doesn't seem to be enjoying his time here at all. He doesn't seem to be buying into this process. Where you look at Nerlens Noel, it seems like a lot better fit with
I don't think you could really tell.
I don't agree with that.
I think Jahlil Okafor, he's gotten in trouble off the floor. He needs a fresh start. Why couldn't you trade him for the
Fresh
Brooklyn?
start. He's younger than you. He's 19 years old.
You should have traded him to Boston for the Brooklyn Nets pick this year.
Well,
Ay.
no, as far as Okafor is concerned, you can't. One thing, if somebody is a winner, they hate losing. And to play on a team that has this many, 4 victories, how many?
Oh.
8?
No.
Oh, excuse me, 8. 8, I'm sorry, I'm confusing 8.
Well, you cut it
8
in
and
half.
12, right. I'm looking at 12. I'm worried about the Lakers because they only have 12 wins. So we've got 8 victories. But you get to play on this team, Brett Brown. I don't know if you're a Brett Brown fan.
Big Brett Brown fan.
You are a big Brett fan?
Love
Okay.
Brett.
Why he's under the
I'd
Popovich
like to
circle.
see when he has a good team, then we can really judge
Of course.
him. But as I said, I think you can't trade Okafor unless somebody blows you away
Well-
with a. There's no reason to trade him. Obviously, he got a little dispute in Boston and different stuff. He's a young guy, and now they brought in Elton Brand, I think, for the main purpose of just being a role model.
But no-
and I think that was a good move.
Noel can run. He can play in transition, where Okafor kind of needs a very slowed down pace of offense.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jahlil Okafor is 19 and Nerlens is 21. We have no idea really what they are yet. The guys don't hit their prime until they're 23, 24, probably not even more until 26, 27. I wouldn't just go out and trade Jahlil Okafor. People kind of threw hissy fits like, oh, what are we doing trading our franchise? We don't have a franchise guy right now. We have assets. We have a very good collection of assets. We have the most assets in the entire NBA outside of Golden State and Cleveland, who have different kind of assets, and San Antonio. But outside of those 3 teams and Oak City, us and Boston are in the next 2 best shape out of anyone in the league, and Minnesota because of their young talent. But Jahlil, I'm not saying trade him, but in the right situation, like if the Clippers were willing to give us Blake Griffin for Jahlil and the Lakers protected pick, of course you do it. You know that you're getting a 26-year-old all-star in Blake Griffin, and who pairs well either with Embiid or with Nerlens, and you figure it out along the way. We have assets. We don't know whether Embiid's going to be healthy. If he is, then of course Jahlil becomes more expendable. But we don't know yet. We're not anywhere near the team that we're going to be when we're ready to compete 2-3 years from now. We're starting to see what that team will be. We'll more so really start to see it this summer. Once we see if we get Simmons or if we get Ingram and what free agent we're able to draw here, then you can really see, and let's see what we have in Saric and Embiid, and we take it from there. We don't have to be in a rush to have our starting 5 yet. We really don't.
What's your issue with I know Blake Griffin's has a lot of off the field issues, and you want to trade him for Okafor for Blake Griffin. I mean, obviously, what's the difference? I mean, Okafor has been in trouble multiple times.
What's the
in
difference?
speeding? He's been in a speeding incident a couple times. He tried to get into a fake ID into a Philly club, and then Blake Griffin, obviously, he's in a lot of controversy right now. I mean, what makes you want to get Blake Griffin so badly?
Blake Griffin is one of the 12 best players on the planet, averaged, 24, 10, and 4 assists or 5 assists. Blake Griffin's a perennial all-star. I don't care if he speeds or if he punches them. I'll hire someone on our training staff to get punched by Blake Griffin every day if he'll come here. All right? So
Well,
I'm not worried
I don't think
about
there's
stuff
any
like
chance.
that.
I think Doc Rivers came out and was pretty emphatic
Of
that
course.
he has no plans to trade Blake Griffin, and that obviously that's a cornerstone of their team. He's also a marquee player. Other players will come to a team when he's there.
That's
he's got
would
a
be
lot
the
of
main draw
he's
for
got a lot
us.
of charisma. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's not in the cards. There's people. Are you going to trade an Okafor? Here's a question, Spence. Would you trade Okafor for Griffith?
For Griffin?
Griffin, excuse me.
No problem. Absolutely, because
Yeah.
Griffin is a winner. The guy wins everywhere. He's part of playoffs. He's had success in the NBA. He also, guess who he's friends with? He's played on the West All-Star team. He knows Durant. He knows Kawhi Leonard.
I'll tell you the word.
He's
He
a
would
Hall of
bring
Famer.
Credibility back to our franchise.
Yes.
He'd be the face of the franchise, and luckily for us, he would have sat out the rest of the year because he's got a busted hand. But whatever, it's over. We're not getting him.
When
We'll
you
move
turn on
It's
the
fine.
TV in May, when you turn on NBA basketball in May, you know what you see? You see Blake Griffin dunking on cats in the playoffs. And,
Yeah.
and he's played big games. You need a marquee guy. No question about it, you trade Okafor because you're stacked at that position. You need a point guard somehow.
But do you think
you need guards.
Here's a question: you go to every game. Is Okafor Tim Duncan? I mean, will he ever beat Tim Duncan? Is
No.
it too early to say?
No.
And why not?
Because Tim Duncan's one of the best 7 basketball players ever, and clearly the best power forward ever. He was so much more defensively talented, and we don't know what kind of leader Jaleel will be yet, but Duncan led that team as a second or third year guy to a championship. It wasn't Robinson's team anymore. That was Duncan's team. So no, he's not Tim Duncan, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to be great. I mean, he's got better offensive talent in his hands and his feet than anybody I've seen come into the league in 20 years as a big man. But he's very limited defensively. He's limited athletically. And sometimes it doesn't look like he has that fire that like a Westbrook has, where it looks like he wants to kill everybody on every play, like a Cam Newton type fire, to give a different sport. And I'm not sure Okafor has that. I wish he had more of it. It seems like his dad has it in the stands and in the Lexus Club. I see him all the time. He's pretty juiced up all the time. But Okafor's so gifted offensively that he's going to be an NBA All-Star. He's going to be a 23, 24, 25 point per game scorer. And if it's for us, great. And if it's possible to trade him in the right deal to get the right player or package of players in return, then great also. Like I said, we have assets. We have a lot of assets. He's one of them.
Matt, what guys, this is a nice question for you. You got the Sixers here. We talked about Okafor. We talked about Noel. Ish Smith, we probably could agree, would be a good backup point guard.
Yep.
What guys would you just get rid of? So let's talk about now. Let's change the discussion to guys that as soon as we start to get better, we just need to unload these dudes. What are your thoughts? You have the roster in
There's
front
at
of you.
least 6 of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Elton Brand. Obviously, he's just a really old guy, 16 years in the league. I'm not really sold on Isaiah Cannon. He's just an average guard. I'm not really sold on him. Robert Covington, maybe he can stay on your squad as maybe your 8th guy, but if you see him as a starter, that's really trouble. Embiid's still another asset, as Perry has been alluding to. Jeremy Grant, I'm not really sold on him.
Oh, come on. Jeremy's my man. I've
Richard
been totally
Holmes,
off on that.
Richard Holmes, I don't know enough
Rashawn.
about him. Carl Landry, I don't like him. Kendall Marshall, obviously, not a guy that you're really gonna go.
Does it bother anyone
hell
that
over
Kendall
about.
Marshall makes more money than Ish Smith and Isaiah Cannon combined? It bothers me. I don't know why.
And it also
He was drafted high. He was a better college player.
It also
So
bothers
bad.
me. Joel Embiid, makes more money than Okafor, and Joel Embiid never even stepped on the floor yet.
Well,
You don't know
Unbelievable.
Kendall Marshall's bad. He never plays.
he's so bad.
He's so bad. You see him on the Lakers?
You go to his practice.
No, he played when he first before we had gotten Ish back and Marshall was healthy. Marshall was playing, and he just played in the last game when Ish was like danged up for a little bit. He's so bad. I can't even
Watch it because he can't drive or.
He has no speed, no real shooting ability. He can't get it. He has no first step. There's no reason he should be in the NBA. Basically, is what I'm saying.
I want to, what's so funny, you guys, is the Orlando Magic are the most incompetent team on planet Earth. They have Brandon Jennings, Oladipo, and Alfred on one team.
What was with them signing Tobias Harris to a 4-year, $60 million contract, or more than that? It was like 4 for 64, and then trading him after 3 months. What are they doing down there?
Well, don't they have an isn't Jennings expiring? So
Jennings
Yes.
is expiring. Sure, they didn't do this to get better. They did it to dump salary, but why pay Tobias Harris in the first place and then give him 3 months? The kid's like 22 years old.
23.
they see
Yeah.
they're like the T-Wolves. They have all these guys that like Vucevic, right? Good player.
He's limited. He's okay.
How about Aaron Gordon?
No.
Great
Dunk contest.
great potential though.
For the dunk.
He's improving his shot a lot. Good
There's
defensive
one
player.
guy that has absolutely a lot of potential, and
Fournier?
Shabazz Napier. I literally like the kid from UConn. He can shoot free throws. I mentioned him earlier in the show. Nobody's given him the opportunity he deserves. He's a hard worker.
Yeah.
He was all 4 years at
team is he
UConn.
Is he still in the Heat?
He got
No, he got
traded
traded,
to the Magic
Okay.
for a couple
Well,
picks.
he was a
but-
great college player.
Oh, yeah.
LeBron loved him.
Loved him.
And LeBron pushed for him to be drafted by the Heat.
And then LeBron left anyway.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why
Well,
they
why?
traded
But the
Napier.
question is why? There's certain players like that
How
that
about
don't.
Russ Smith?
What?
Russ
He
Smith
was a
of
baller at
Louisville.
No, he was a powerful college player, but what's he doing now?
They're tiny. If you're tiny and you're not as good as Allen Iverson, it's tough to make it in this league. These guys are really big. And Napier's a tiny little dude. I mean, he's
If he
that's
has
what
the-
it comes down to.
If you have the work ethic, just like a guy like AI, might as well give him the opportunities.
You need,
There's no
you
AI.
gotta
work your way up.
You
Level
You gotta
that
work your
AI
way up.
has.
AI's
Come
a
on.
freak.
You can't
AI
tank.
just like LeBron's a freak.
You can't tank what the Sixers are doing. There's no building team chemistry. There's no,
I like Mitch
don't-
McGarry.
Didn't Iverson go number one? Do you get number one if you don't have a really bad roster?
I mean, they got lucky. I mean, obviously
Won the
when you
draft
when you
lottery.
get in the draft, sometimes you get
Yeah.
lucky. Sometimes people get hurt. Sometimes you pan out. Obviously, the really hit big in the NBA to start getting good is obviously these free agents that are coming.
No, totally incorrect.
Well,
Totally incorrect.
obviously, if you don't have assets, with another team I'll talk about later, if you don't have assets, you obviously got to hit the free agent market. But the Sixers, obviously, they have all these assets. We'll see what they do in the next coming months.
You're totally off on.
Let's
does
talk about-
anyone
I think
agree
that
about that?
segues
With-
us-
What about the free agent?
Yeah.
I think
we're
it
gonna-
depends on who you are.
Guys,
They should have
I
got
know
Mitch
we're-
McGarry.
We're gonna
from
take
Oklahoma
we're gonna take a break right now. I know we're getting deep into this. Whether we're basically talking about drafted versus trades, but we're gonna be back in about 3 minutes from now, and we're gonna take a break. Thanks for everybody listening in.
All right, very good.